This is Back to Back.
All right, guys. How we all doing? How are you? How's everybody? How's things? How's your life? I'm doing all right. My name is Willy Joy, and this is my new show. This is Back to Back. For those of you who don't know me, which is probably a lot of you right now, hi, I'm Willy. It's nice to meet you guys. We're going to have some fun here. I'm going to talk to some of the most interesting people in the electronic music world every week. We're going to talk to DJs, producers, writers, singers, managers, promoters, agents, everything. All aspects of the electronic music world, the dance music world, EDM, whatever you want to call it. I'm not one for labels, but I'm going to try to cover a pretty broad range of topics for you guys. You know, the dance music world is funny. Once you get inside it, it's actually pretty small. It feels a little like a high school where everyone knows each other. There are some cliques, and not everyone hangs out with everyone else, but everyone knows each other for the most part. And it's a little insular community. If you're not in it, I think there's a really different perception of how it works and what it's like than what it's actually like and how it actually works. So I want to give you guys a little window into that. The music industry is just full of fascinating characters, really interesting people, geniuses, weirdos, crazy people from all walks of life. But trust me that I'm only going to have guests that I think have something to say on here, or guests that have a story to tell, or just people that you want to hear from. That's my promise to you. And speaking of, my guest on the show today is Diplo. We had a great conversation, and we'll get into that in just a couple minutes. But before we do, I think I should tell you guys a little more about myself first. I've been making music and DJing almost half my life at this point. I started when I was around 16 years old, and I'm in my 30s now. And that sounds really crazy when I say it out loud. But in that time, I've had a lot of cool opportunities. I've worked with artists, big and small, different labels. And I think over the course of this show, if you don't know my history already, you're going to find out a lot more as we go. I'm not going to list my resume off the top. That seems kind of weird. But if you're really curious, you can go look it up too. So I make music all the time. It's pretty much the only thing I think about. Music, my friends who make music, the people who listen to our music, and hopefully you guys will come along and think about all this with me. And, you know, we're just going to talk some shit, guys. I know that this might be sounding a little heavy so far, but really this is just me talking to some friends of mine who I've known for a long time. And eventually I'll talk to people I don't know, and that's going to be fun too, because then I'll learn a lot more that I didn't know. But these first few episodes, it's just going to be me talking some shit with my friends. There's a lot of amazing people in the industry here, and a lot of really incredible stories that aren't really being told. And on that note, like I said, my first guest on the show, first guest ever, is Diplo. I have a long history with Diplo. We've been friends for almost 10 years now, and in that time, we've done a lot of work together. I worked on some major laser projects for him. He's put out some songs of mine on his label. We've done some remixes and other fun projects. We've played a lot of shows together. We've run into each other in weird cities all around the world and had some strange nights with some even stranger people. So we set up this little chat you're about to hear It was actually recorded on the same day that he left for his Australia tour, which just finished up a little while ago. And it was a hectic day. The schedule got changed a couple times. Originally, our talk was going to be in the afternoon. Then I got a text at about 2 a.m. the night before saying we had to change it to 9 a.m., which was a text I was not super happy to receive. But, he's a busy guy, so of course I'll accommodate his schedule. So I showed up bright and early, got another text saying, actually, the house is under construction right now and there's a lot of noise, so we can't really record anything right now, but do you want to go to the gym with me instead? So we went over to his local gym. We sweated it out, and that was a new one. It was fun, though. Every time I meet up with Wes, there's always a weird experience involved that was not originally scheduled. That's part of the fun. And so we got out of the gym. We walked from there back up into the Hollywood Hills, back to the house. The workers were on their lunch break at that point, and we fit in this chat that you're about to hear. I really enjoyed this. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this too. So what else can you really say about Diplo? He's a Grammy Award-winning producer. He is one of the most famous and in-demand DJs in the world. He's a father. He's a really funny guy. He's a good chess partner. He takes a great shirtless Instagram photo. And he really was one of the very first people to support me and what I was trying to do musically in my career. One of the first people to reach out to me, and I'll never forget that. It really meant a lot then, and it still means a lot now. He's a good friend, and I'm really excited to share this conversation with you guys. So let's get into it right now. This is me and Diplo chopping it up. Let's go. I was doing a little research for this earlier, and I went on the podcast store, and I was like, has Diplo done podcasts before? And the only thing I could find was one Them Jeans podcast from 5 years ago.
Very rare. I remember that podcast.
Yeah, it was cool. I skimmed through it, and the 5 minutes I skimmed, you were talking about, you're like, all right, guys, hear me out. This is going to sound crazy, but there's this new thing called SoundCloud, and it's going to be fucking crazy.
It is crazy still. SoundCloud out here. Is Benji still doing his podcast?
I think he is, actually.
He should have done another one. I was back in the day when he used to work in Atwater.
Right. But I think he's still doing the same podcast.
It's kind of popular, I think.
I think so too. It's I don't really know what the theme is. He's just talking to
Where's that girl? It's kind of like a little bit of a variety show.
But it reminded me, man, you were kind of early on the podcast shit too, because you used to do the Madison podcast.
R.I.P.
You were very early on that.
Yeah.
What inspired you to do that in the first place? No one else was really doing a podcast back then.
I mean, from the jump, Madison was always was sort of the MO is a cultural, sort of investigation, label. We were trying to always expose awesome new music, and along with that, back in the day, before there was this homogenous music scene that we have nowadays, where everybody does everything or does whatever they want, music had a real roots and had a real foundation. Every place that we went to, the things that we did on Madison, whether it was Baltimore Club or Brazilian music or New Orleans Bounce, I was excited about this culture, about the people and what the music did, how did it exist, why is this music like this, what is this? And now people don't even ask those questions. They just kind of listen to music and the vibe, which is not a bad thing either. But back then, it was kind of our job to explain to people why this music was what it is, because it wasn't any market for what the music we did at Madison. We were literally selling really unusual music that was considered quote unquote world music, even though it was happening in Baltimore, an hour down the street. So we like to tell stories about why this was what it was, who these people were, who was Scotty B when he comes to Baltimore, or K Swift, who is Big Frida, who is Hot Boy Ronald when it comes to New Orleans Bounce. you know. So
Yeah.
the podcast was sort of like a way to explain these music to people, which I thought was really cool at the time.
Yeah, it was dope. And you did a lot of them. I don't know if you remember, I had almost forgotten. Me and Flostradamus Kurt, did a mix for that podcast that was all joke music.
Yeah,
It was like
Chicago.
we did like Weird Al versions of
Oh,
like,
that's a juke.
No,
It was
no,
joke.
yeah,
Yeah,
joke.
it was a joke podcast.
Yeah.
So the podcast did migrate through a lot of different ways. I was like, some of the ones I did like 4 or 5 where I spent a lot of time actually creating documentaries on the podcast. And then there was like, it just kind of became like whatever theme. I mean, I guess it kind of migrated into what we have now at Diplo and Friends, but it's more a profile for new music and new young producers, which kind of like was the lane we're in with Madison at this point.
Yeah.
But every time it was just like the lane we were in at the time.
Were you doing interviews?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out the New Orleans one or the Baltimore one or but like just check out some of the ones where I was actually like, there's like interviews and things happening where I never had my voice in them that much, but I had like people just talking about what they were doing.
Yeah, they're still all
In
up,
fact,
too.
the reason BBC, Kamal, our producer at BBC Radio, he actually went to those first. I think it's kind of one of the inspirations for why we got the BBC Radio Diplo and Friends show, because he really liked that documentary. He's always trying to get us to do like more of those documentary pieces, which they can do for BBC 4 or like.
Yeah.
BBC has great documentary podcasts.
Yeah, they
but,
do.
I never got that deep into it. Maybe eventually when I like quit doing dubstep jackhammer tours.
That's Diplo's new single, by the way, Dubstep Jackhammer, coming to you soon.
Grrr.
That was a little clip from it. So it's interesting to think about from those days of Mad Decent, like to the Mad Decent now, and it's, a lot of the same themes, but it seems like everything kind of grew up a little, and it's a lot more official now. How do you feel about sort of where it was then to where it is now? Like, are you still trying to kind of stay counterculture and stay underground when a lot of records are pop now? Like, has pop come to the underground, or is it the other way around?
I think Mad Decent hit a point about 5 years ago when I was still investing, like $60,000 a year into the label. My business manager was just telling me like, this is terrible. This is a bad look.
Why are you doing this?
You don't even make that much money. How are you spending all of it to put a label together, wasting your money? And what saved us was like Harlem Shake. Like that was a hit song for us, the first instrumental Billboard top 100 record.
Yeah.
The very first meme record. Now we have like, everything from Black Beatles and
yeah, well, it's almost like you need a viral something to have a hit now.
I know. I'm trying to get as many viruses as I can. See if I can get hits.
Just how many you got right now?
Yeah, a couple. I'm like Mr. Burns. All my viruses are like in perfect harmony together. But basically, the label kind of saved them, but we realized like, yo, we're actually good at the internet. We're actually good at this and that. That year we turned a profit for the first time. We instigated a thing called the Jeffries, which was like a brainchild of me, Paul Devereaux, and our lawyer, David Rappaport. And what that did was it was a way to publish more music, because sales wasn't really happening for anybody in this world except for a couple of big pop, dance records, which we didn't really make. We learned like ways to make money, and like in the industry as it was falling apart, we were able to like find ways to like actually make money. So we did that. We gave artists who wanted to sign with us the freedom to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah.
We aggregated their music to like, places that can make money off their music, like licensing to video games or soundtracks. Or we had a good team with that. And we became a label that people like, oh, that's going to be cutting edge new music. What do they have to listen to? So
yeah,
the label just changed many different times. But now, the last couple of years, we did a lot of dance music, because a lot of artists we did sign over the last couple of years, whether it was Zed's Dead, all the way Grand Theft, Jaws or Dylan Francis. We started them as like young artists, and they just kind of evolved, and we always supported whatever choices they made. Even Bauer, when he was with us.
Yeah.
And this year, there's a lot of new artists, like everybody from, like some of them I can't talk about because they're not, we want to make decisions. Like we have Omar Suleiman on Mad Decent this year.
Oh, that's crazy.
So there's everything, like kind of like the range of the early days of Mad Decent when it was more of an eclectic label. Because I think that also when dance music happened, we were able to like take a claim at it and put together really cool dance music. But now it's very important to have a label that you can think, that's why this is different than the rest.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the dance labels or the small labels, they're just literally the same.
Yeah.
Same songs, same artists, same music, or same artists are just bouncing between the labels. But we want to have a label that feels like this is exciting. This is something I had never heard before.
Right. And it seems like you're really kind of cherry picking the team too. Like it's, before with Jeffries and with Good Enough too, is like a lot of different artists kind of all in a row. But I feel like it's contracting a little. Would you agree?
Well, I think when it comes to actual Mad Decent releases, we don't do many anymore. We do like literally the ones we invested in, like we had Grand Theft had his first top 40 record, which is like he was been releasing records with us for 4 or 5 years, and it's great that he's we're able to. It's great that we can actually build an artist like him and break him into that level. Or Dylan Francis, for instance, who's just been with us since day one and has just always evolved as a personality in a group.
Yeah,
it's important that we understand how to try to like grow the artist. It's not just a label trying to grow. It's like the artists have to grow with us. And then when it comes to all the new music, there's so much young people making music now. I mean, like it's hard to decide. So with Good Enough, I think it's a new thing, but it's basically Paul Devereaux, the main A&R. He just like scours the internet for all kinds of things. I think what's important for him is to like not really do as much dance-oriented music, as, and more things that you can put on your headphones and listen to over and over again. So that's like,
it's kind of all over though. I mean, I did 3 records with Good Enough last year, and they were kind of all over. It was a really fun experience.
But I think it's more important to have that diversity, and also for Paul, for us to have records that we can capitalize on. We need to have a larger catalog that just goes all over the place and not have a one certain sound or one style. So when it comes to like artists that we always represent and push, we want to make sure they have the one song that's unique for them. That we put out.
Yeah.
We don't want to put out the song that's like all the rest of their songs. We want to try to find something that will stick out.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because so much music is getting lost nowadays anyway.
Do you feel like kind of your arc as Diplo, as the producer, the artist, is sort of similar to Mad Decent? Like, early in your career, you're kind of the outsider. Then after a while, you were who like the pop guys were coming to make their like weird record, quote unquote. And now, like, you're not the weird guy anymore. You're making just, records with these pop guys, and it's on their records alongside, all the other sort of mainstream guys that I feel like people like you and me, 5 years ago, it's like we weren't really even thinking about being a part of that.
I mean, I'm 38 years old now. I've been doing this since I was like 24. Mad Decent's almost, I think it must be at least 10 years old now. I have no idea. But I started out in Philly in a small studio. You've been to that studio probably, Madison, the warehouse we have there.
Yeah.
Just, barely getting by, barely paying my mortgage.
What were you doing at the time, like, for money?
I was a school teacher in Philly. That was like my first steady job.
Teaching what?
It was a thing. My technical name for what I did was called a therapeutic staff support at TSS. It was a social worker that went like basically a day-to-day babysitter for kids that had behavioral problems.
Okay.
So I'd go with kids in different high schools and kind of like, collect data on what they were doing, help them deal with whatever problems they had.
Yeah.
Be a liaison between their parents and the social services. So like,
do you have training for that?
Yeah, a little bit. You can actually get it. You can actually do this job in Philly if you just had a college degree or an associate's degree.
Yeah.
And I had really good recommendations because I did have a lot of friends like that worked in education in Philly. Because I had a really progressive crew there that was doing everything from, they're all record diggers and like collectors and producers and young DJs and musicians, but they all worked in social services because they wanted to do something great with their lives. Like inspiration for me was this guy named Triple Double, Tony Larson, who did a bunch of mixtapes with me back in the day called AIOU before I did.
Yeah, I remember those.
Even Holotronics era. But he was one of the first guys to give me a job and help me when I needed money. But I did everything on the side. Like I DJ'd a lot at night.
Yeah.
I DJ'd till like 3 a.m, wake up at like 8, go to work.
Yeah, get that grocery money.
And then, so I did anything to make money, really. Holotronics, when we first put that together, I was like, I can actually quit my job now because I can count on this money to come in every 2 weeks.
So how did Holotronics come about?
Holotronics, man, I need an FAQ for this question.
I know. I mean,
but I'll give you the short story.
Yeah.
It was, Philadelphia's a very awesome, young, artist-driven, creative-driven scene. And about 15 years ago when I first was like really part of that world, there's a lot of young artists that came out of it. Even Flosstradamus for some part felt like they were part of that world.
Yeah, well, there were like little spots. There was like Chicago, New York,
Yeah.
you in Philly.
New York wasn't as big. Philly was kind of like the epicenter because New York didn't really have a community.
Yeah.
Because people just kind of like, it was too involved in the industry. Like there was money, there was corporations involved in music, but they weren't anybody like creating it. You know, there was just like
I felt like the Rub a little bit.
marketing. Yeah, the Rub was like our older brothers because they were like what Holotronics was like younger. We played like hip hop. We played a lot of, we know a lot of Southern new hip hop and things that weren't really that acceptable in New York yet. And the Rub was like PYT and vibes, like a lot of great. There's a learning experience for me because they played a lot of great, you know, vintage house music and songs that were big hits in New York City that weren't big anywhere else. A little bit Baltimore Club. Shout out DJ Ayers. Shout out Cosmo Baker.
DJ 11.
All those guys were like big brothers to me, as well as in Philly we had like Questlove, Always Showed Me Love, Victor Duplay, Cosmo again, and Rich Medina.
Ralph Darden.
Ralph Darden was one of the originators, and he's in Chicago now, but he's one of the guys that really put me on. Also Rich Medina used to let me sneak into his club when either the 5 Spot or on South Street. We used to go to that club on 2nd and South.
Were you underage then?
Yeah, I was like 20 when I first started going out to clubs in Philly.
So then how did you and Low Budget meet? Who's the other half of Holotronics?
Low Budget was like the only other DJ in the city that like just like was excited about music. You know, it was me, there was Dirty South Joe, who was kind of our plug. He was the guy who worked at Armand's Records. I used to go to Funko Mart, Armand, spend all my money on vinyl back then, the white labels. And he used to put us on good records. But Low Budget was one of the few young DJs that was into like new music and also into like kind of like white kid music, you know, like the hipster music. Like a lot of kids were listening to Electro Clash at the time.
Yeah.
So we kind of fused like what was happening with hip hop with what was happening with like Electro Clash and mashup culture.
Yeah.
And Low Budget was a great DJ, you know, so I needed someone like, I wasn't that great of a DJ. I was like a great idea guy, a selector. And I guess with him, we kind of evened each other out. So we built up this little party scene for about 2 years and developed it to where we could move it around New York, SF, Chicago, and meeting other DJs at the time. You know, we like had a community, and one of the most important things that came out of it was a message board.
Yep.
That I think I might have met you on.
Yeah, I think that's where we met.
And it was like a collection of maybe 200 to 300 young DJs. Some of them were great. Like everybody from Flosstradamus to like, you know, some of the old guys in Philly.
Yeah, even the European guys were on there for
a lot of Scandinavian guys, a lot of Australians. It was like a cool place worldwide. I think a lot of people that came from that board are still making music, or we met early on that forum.
There's that connection you feel, you know, if somebody was on that, even if like they're not really doing it as a career anymore, you still feel that connection.
Yeah, it means they're old.
Yeah, it means we're gonna die soon.
But it was that was like it was like the beginning of the internet culture, because this is before there was, I mean, I don't pay attention now, but I know there's like Reddit streams for like every artist. And there's like their own communities for those things.
Yeah.
And
there's probably a Diplo Reddit.
Yeah, it's probably a really sad place. But I know there's like little communities where people just talk about, and they like the building relationships and they're trading music, and it must be so magnified from what it was. Back then there was no place for like underground DJ culture except for what we had at Holotronics, I think.
Yeah. We didn't really know what we were doing. Like now the kids can look up and see the example of like something they want to be. But for us, it's like, I don't know what
you can just dig up a YouTube now and like figure out, I want to make this kind of music.
Yeah.
I want to be like this, and you can just be that.
Yeah. Like people don't understand there's not a lot of simplest shit.
There's not a lot of groundwork being made anymore, I think, when it comes to like the music scene.
Well, and back then, even just the simplest thing was so exciting. Like I remember when you guys put out the mashup record of Mike Jones and Britney Spears.
Tippin' Toxic.
Yeah, Tippin' Toxic. That shit blew
we did a white label of that thing too.
Yeah. I got that on vinyl. It blew my mind. And like putting a rap a cappella over a pop song, like that was unheard of. You know,
I think mashups, the way we did mashups back then was very, very cutting edge and cool, and like now in retrospect it's just like it's so easy, and so it's like so cheesy in a way, but back then it was really, no one could do what we did. I mean, we had the programs to do. I edited stuff on Cool Edit Pro myself before I had Ableton, but nobody had like the prowess to understand the kinds of music.
Yeah. So
I think it was a very young generation. We were like 20 to 25 year olds. I think you were probably a little younger than me.
Yeah, I'm a couple years younger.
And then I think, but you probably were like a fan of all kinds of music.
Yeah.
But there wasn't anybody like that above you. Like your older people were like, they really had the genres and they locked it in. Like I was a rock kid.
Yeah.
And even in Philly, like when I went out at night, I would like be like wearing sweatshirts and hoodies and in jeans, and like I would go to like the rock nights, and like I would meet like people like Dave Pianka and like they would just be DJing like rock music and like doing cocaine and like playing like Motown like 45s, and then I'd go like the hip hop club, low budget, it'd be like thuggy, like go to Palmer or like Transit on Spring Garden Street, and it would just be like thug parties, and then but I would just go to all these different parties, and eventually like we just made the party that was everybody together.
Yeah.
At the time, and it was like we were making these mashups and things because like a lot of young kids, there was no style back then either. No one dressed. There was no hipster. Like people just like came out of their art school classes or they got out of their 9-to-5 jobs and they were just into Radiohead, but they were also into like Juvenile.
Right.
And those were like the kids that became the culture that is Holotronics. Like 10 years later, that's kind of like what you have is like, you know, rappers listening and have Anthrax t-shirts or like, that's like now very commonplace. It's very much like the hipster style, like the MO, what you have now in 2017 is those kind of kids. Back then, we just were those people. We didn't try to stylize ourselves.
Did you have like a rock background? Like what were you listening to as a kid? Like younger?
As a kid, you know, I was really into pop radio, to be honest. And then pop radio in Florida, though, when I grew up was more like freestyle music, like Trinaire and Debbie Deb and Pretty Tony and Miami bass stuff, you know, Miami and New Jersey electro music. But also into goth, kind of like 80s music, like The Cure, because of the girls I dated. Really into like New Order a lot. Yeah. Anything Arthur Baker touched, whether it was like Bambaataa to, you know, Depeche Mode and New Order. Really into hardcore punk because that was like what you did when you went out. Yeah. Those only shows I could actually go to were like punk shows, hardcore shows, and metal shows because metal was really big in Florida. Yeah, I never really bought any metal music, but I just knew the bands and I went to shows and just fought people. I didn't really buy. Yeah, that's what albums. It was all about. I was a metalhead kid, and yeah, that's kind of what it was all about. But it was like the energy, just like I just grabbed different things that were happening. Like Miami bass was on the radio, and I loved that. Dance hall was on the radio, and I loved that. And they was playing in the parks. Metal was what like the churches that I would go to like see shows. And it's still that energy, man. I feel like, to me, I'm still chasing that energy, like regardless of what kind of music we're making. It's like it's that feeling I'm trying to get back to. Yeah, I think it's just youth culture. I mean, I was young back then. I'm 38 years old now. And I'm still involved in like, you know, kids who come to my shows are everything between like 20 to, you know, 15 years old to like 26 years old. Kids, you know, and you're always trying to make something exciting because that's what music relies on is like youth culture. You have to, you know, that's like, it's not, adults are just, they're convenient in their lives and they listen to whatever is given to them on a plate. But when kids are the one who are explore music, develop music, and support music. Do you feel like we're trying to cheat our age a little bit? Sometimes I feel like I'm like a vampire for these kids, just trying to like hold on to it. 100%. It's always kind of like, it must be awkward to be, you know, your fan base stays the same age, you get older. And it's, you know, I don't want to be a DJ forever as well, but I just feel like I just been kind of ahead of the curve when it comes to like the way music sounds. Yeah. But I also feel myself wanting to sit back and produce more records. Like last year I did stuff with like Beyonce's album or, you know, working with Sam Hunt, or I just like to branch out and just try new things. I've done the same thing for years and I tried different things for different times. And I'm always wanting to explore. As long as people go see my shows and hear the music I make, I'm definitely down to go play the songs. But if they don't, I'm definitely down to stay home, you know? Yeah, I feel you. When just earlier today, you were saying you're kind of fantasizing a little bit about taking a step back from the road. Like, yeah. I just think like the way DJs play, it's just like, there's not really it just seems like the same thing happening over and over again, you know? LED wall. Yeah, it doesn't seem like the same. It's like, I'm surprised I don't know how, it's like a zombie already. The culture itself is like, I don't know how it's still alive. There are some cool things. I think hip hop right now is like on the forefront. Like young rappers are doing the most and doing cool shit. Speaking of young rappers, I wanted to, are you from Tupelo originally? I was born in Tupelo, yeah. And that's the birthplace of Ray Shremmerd as well, right? Ray Shremmerd, Mickey Echo, Elvis Presley. Damn. All from there. Do you have memories from there? I was like left when I was like 3 years old. Oh, okay, word. I went back there like this summer. I went back there in December to play with Ray Shremmerd. Oh, they did like a show, like a hometown? Yeah. It was very strange and cool. It was cold. Did you feel a connection? I got the key to the city from the mayor. For real? Yeah. It was just kind of cool. Wait, what does that actually mean? Do they give you like a physical? It's just a ceremonious thing. It's like a little key that says like Tupelo. It's just cool because I never had one, and it's like it's like a weird place. Yeah, no, that's fun.
So you can just walk in anybody's house?
Yeah, I can just unlock the doors. I can just drive you. It's like a Grand Theft Auto. I can just ride around Tupelo and steal cars. Like, I got the key to the city, man. Get up out of this
Nothing you can do. Yeah. Sorry.
No, but it's a small town. It's like 20,000 people, and I feel like I think 6,000 of them were at that show.
Yeah.
So it was, and they weren't there for me. They were for Ray Shrummer.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, but it was crazy because growing up in like the South, the party was like in a little arena, and it was like half white kids, half black kids, and it's weird because I could tell those kids never go to shows together like normally.
Yeah,
it was definitely, but they're all like there and they knew all the lyrics to the songs. It was like very like a modern day Mississippi story where like I could tell those kids were not like, if you go to Toronto or even LA, like kids are just mixed together with whatever culture, colors, like just a thing. But down there, they were just all there at the show, kind of stuck together in a weird way.
Well, and that's how it used to be for us, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like it was like they were just like there. It was like it was a weird vibe, but they all turned up. It was a dope show. But even bigger now. Ray Shrummer just blew up the last 6 months, man.
Crazy.
Jeez.
Crazy.
Those guys are so awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, they deserve it. You worked with them already, right? You working on something?
We did a lot of stuff together. When they first came out, Mike Will sent me their demos like 2 years ago. I was like, you gotta check out these kids. They're from Tupelo. So I actually met them. I was like, no one's from Tupelo.
You're lying.
But there was, because Mike Will has Mike Will's team is called Eardrummers, all his producers, and there's like 3 or 4 or 5. And one guy is actually from Tupelo. I met him before, and I was surprised there's another producer even from there. Because Tupelo is not far from Atlanta. It's like 4 hours drive, an hour drive from Memphis. So I don't know, this guy must have heard him and brought him up to Mike Will. And Mike was like, these guys are great. Mike Will was smart. Because when I first heard the demos, I didn't know they were that, like, I didn't really hear it, but I thought they were just wild. They were loud and cool. Felt like an Outcast kind of thing. But he just, they're like the biggest thing in hip hop at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's the ear, man. I think a lot of people had that reaction. Like when I first heard him, I was like, this is weird. I don't know if it's good, but it's different, you know? And then they proved it to me. But working forward, like back to the Philly, the Madison, like the early days, what was the progression from like Hollytronics to you started doing the mixtapes? You know, what was sort of the big first like production side? Was it the MIA stuff that kind of broke you into that world?
I produced my own album.
Right, yeah, Florida.
On Ninja Tune, but it was very like lo-fi, samples are out of tune. Didn't know how to even EQ tracks.
What were you making that on?
It's all on SoundForge and Cool Edit Pro. So
shout out to Cool Edit.
2 free programs. You ever had Cool Edit?
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. So SoundForge is like the where you had like. So the thing about Cool Edit Pro is that Cool Edit Pro actually had like multi-track form, but Cool Edit didn't. And SoundForge like where you edited the audio, and you had like one track, and I would just like cut and paste into. I had like one window. Yeah. Can you imagine just like pasting because you can paste over the audio and just that's how you would mix.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I would like time stretch something and then paste it on top of something else, and then have a calculator and time like the loops I needed to make. And like that's the intro. And then like that, then take that and have that in a window and move that to the next window.
Yeah, it takes so long.
Before that, I did have an SP1200, and then I had like an MPC, which I hated that. I mean, I could never really figure that out.
Yeah, I was the same.
And an S20, a Kai sampler, which is the first. It was like a lot more time to use. Had like 8 buttons. Yeah. And then had like 2 minutes of sample time. SP1200 only had 24 seconds of sample time or something.
Yeah, that's about right.
But my first thing was like a Gemini mixer with a loop button. Anyway, I was like when I was 16. But then, moved on from that. People heard my demos and the things I was trying to do with some of the mashups, and then Diplo Rhythm was this one dance song I kind of made at the end of my EP or the end of my album on Ninja Tune, and I think that became kind of a little underground hit in England.
Okay.
So I was actually doing like a show at Fabric because of this song called Diplo Rhythm.
That was like the first international show?
It was because the label was based in England, and England was happening, and some people who picked up that song were like grime guys, early grime, so I just connected with a grime party. I was DJing this grime party, but I was playing like trap and like at the time like crunk music, you know?
Yeah.
And I was doing those sets in London at this thing called Run the Road, a party at Fabric, and I met all these guys like Kano and Wiley. And I was kind of like the weird English guy that was American guy that was playing these parties and doing stuff with them. And MIA, I met her through those parties, and she had heard my mixtapes and things, and she was excited. Like, I want to do this. This is kind of like the world, because I was doing this sort of like world music punk kind of way to make mixtapes. So somehow she convinced her label to send her to Philly to work with me, even though I didn't even have a computer at the time. She came over to Philly. We did like 4 or 5 days. It was dope though. We made her Piracy Funds Terrorism mixtape, and out of that came the Bucky Dun Gun single, and just a relationship with her that lasted for a few years. We always made music together.
Yeah.
And with her, like she bought me my first laptop, and she helped me learn how to produce, and I produced some stuff for her, but I wasn't good.
Was that like the first real money you were seeing from music? Like money?
I didn't really make any money back then. She just came to my house. I didn't get like an advance or anything.
Right.
The first real money was actually Hollertronics mixtapes, and mixtapes in general is the way I make money. Like selling mixtapes bootleg.
Yeah.
I'll just like put the economics down for you. If I make mixtape, I did Hollertronics, did Piracy Funds Terrorism with MIA, did Top Ranking with Santigold. I did one with LaRue that I don't think I sold that one. So it was at that point the labels had caught on. But if I make a mixtape, I spend my time making it. I did Hollertronics 1 and 2. No one really heard 2. What I do is I send it to this guy who printed them for me in New York City at like between 60 and 75 cents a piece.
Yeah.
And he also did the liners for me and everything and the CD cases. And I would sell them for wholesale like $7 to Turntable Lab, and $8 I sold them myself to Kim's Video or like an Australian distributor, whatever it was. And I was selling like at some point like 10, 15,000, 20,000 these mixtapes. So do the math. Like I made money on those. That's like how I made money. And that's before I had a manager and I like
had to get a cut.
Bootlegging music, you don't understand. Like if people do that now, what people make doing their merch and stuff like that, or physical sales without a label, without like having a team to pay, splitting profits. Like how rappers used to like look like rappers in Houston and Atlanta. They were driving around with like Rolls Royces. They did that because they sold their mixtapes.
Yeah.
A rapper like Swisher House guys could sell like 100,000 mixtapes in Houston alone with no overhead.
Yeah.
Like they were making like literally like millions of dollars.
It's crazy.
And so selling physicals back then before there was like a real internet boom, because by the time we did like the later mixtapes, people just downloaded them.
Right.
Kind of hard to find that stuff online now, but that's how I made money in the beginning. That's how we started Mad Decent, basically, from bootlegging mixtapes.
Yeah.
And then investing back in yourself and like making vinyl.
Yeah.
And signing artists to contracts.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you guys still kind of have that attitude about it, even though you went legit.
What, just bootlegging mixtapes?
yeah, just stealing shit.
No, right now, at this point, the Mad Decent is a staff of, I think, like 12, 15 people. You should go to the office before you leave town.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. It's downtown. It's really, really efficient, and it's not. We don't make our money on the sales as much as at all. Really, it's like we've created something that's amazing to watch how it grew. Like Jasper, who's a label manager, has done so much work. Jasper since day one.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for Jasper, even I wouldn't even have a career, because Jasper ran Turntable Lab with Pete and Anthony, and those guys put on my mixtapes to begin with. They helped me invest in my money in my first shows. They helped me print my first vinyl. They believed me. I was like one of the first guys who, it was kind of a consignment shop. If you made something, you could sell it there with them. So they sold a lot of scratch records. They also sold hardware, and they sold like my mixtapes. They sold like t-shirts I made. So those guys, I would just come there with packages and sell it to them directly. And those guys actually helped put me on. And when I started my label, I asked Jasper to help me.
Yeah.
And he did, and he stayed with me for almost 10 years now. So he's like the real backbone.
He's the best.
And one of the main people in my career to help me like do what I do.
Move it forward just a little bit to, at post Philly. When did you move to LA? Like
7 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
I've been coming to LA. So basically, make this long story short, and with MIA, I was a terrible producer still. I was trying.
Right.
The thing is, nowadays, kids can like go to a producer class. They can watch YouTubes. Back then, just nobody showing you how to use a program. Nobody even knew how to use Ableton to make music. It was literally for like Crystal Method to do a live concert or something. It wasn't like we actually pressed a tab button and started producing on it. I don't think Ableton even expected people to produce music on that program.
You're probably right.
It was called Live.
Yeah, it was for performance.
So when people started turning the program around and not using that live sequencer, people started producing on it. And no one even knew how to really do it. Then it became like someone like Skrillex, who just used it like a fucking guitar and like made a crazy shit out of it.
Yeah.
But I had I tried to learn Logic because I was like actually a writing DAW, and Switch was the person who showed me how to do that. And I was with Switch for many years because he was like MIA's partner, and I had like kind of the ideas, but he had like the technicality to create music.
Yeah, so
I moved here because I wanted to be close to him, and he was teaching me how to use, programs. I was bringing him songs and artists. Like I introduced him to Santi Gold and Amanda Blank and the Philly Cruise, and then
and you guys made a lot of music together.
Yeah, we did lots of things. We did Alex Clare. We did some Beyonce stuff in the beginning. We did lots of cool things. We did Major
love that
Lazer.
Alex Clare record.
So we did lots of we learned together.
Yeah.
Alex Clare. I mean, this podcast is only gonna go through a couple things, but the period of time between Philadelphia and now, or the first couple years in LA, Alex Clare's album was done with me and Switch high on mushrooms for 2 weeks in New Orleans with an endless budget from Sony Records, and it was dropped after we finished it. So it was like, but then somehow by the grace of God, MSN sampled a song, and the guy got re-signed. We had a huge hit with the record. It's just you can't. When we did our worst ever sessions, and we're just high and driving through Mississippi and Louisiana on drugs, making music. We thought
Fear and Loathing.
Yeah, we somehow made an album out of that, and we were like, oh, this isn't going to work. So we got dropped, but somehow we still had a song that was a hit out of it.
Yeah.
So you never can tell. And now it's I'm in the studio all the time here in LA working on music, and it's I kind of miss the old days where we were just so reckless.
Yeah, man.
And stuff like that, but I can't do that anymore. I got too much responsibility.
Well, and it's cool for me because you and I, I've just intersected with you at sort of random points in your career, so I've gotten these little snapshots of these little moments. I remember, and it's been pivotal moments for me too, and I don't know if you know some of those, but I remember there was one time in Chicago, we were both playing the Spring Awakening Festival at Soldier Field. And
the first one?
Yeah, the very first one. And we were both on a, side stage or something. I was playing super early in the day. You were playing a little later. And you dropped a little Chief Keef remix that I had made. And that was the first time for me that I'd seen my music played to that many people. And so that I'll never forget that kind of moment. And there's just been these little glimpses. And for you too, it's I watch you go from playing side stage, middle of the day, to playing side stage, end of the day, to playing, main stage, just that progression. It's been cool to get those little snapshots, working on the second Major Lazer record with you during, what year was that came out?
That second one came out. That was Get Free.
Yeah.
Boomaye.
Yeah. Mash Up the Dance was the one I
don't know when that even came out. I don't know. 2011?
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. But no, just it was motivating for me. I remember I was up in your hotel room and we were just
in Chicago?
Yeah, in Chicago. Yeah. And we were working on, something in the drums of the two. And you just played a show. You were super exhausted. You looked like you wanted to just die. And instead of dying and kicking me out of your room,
I did die.
Well, I didn't see it, man. I don't know. Because you just sat there. It blew my mind, though. We worked on the record. And then even after that, you sat around and you showed me the new music video. You played me demos for hours, and I was looking at you why is he even taking the time to? It's crazy, man. What is that drive? I feel there's something in you that just can't stop.
Man, 2011. I can't remember what it was, but I think just man, I think when you start doing music like this, first of all, I'm not gonna. It sounds cheesy as hell, but it's such a blessing that I can make. I'm not even a good musician. By any means, but it's a blessing that I can have a job. I worked so many jobs till I was 23, and I sucked. And I was my life's never gonna change,
Yeah.
And to be able to make music and to do this is crazy. And then when I started to excel at it, I was wow, I can't stop now. I got to try to do as much as I can in the short time that I have, because that's all you really have. You only have the time you have to make an impact. So I just feel every day feel I'm behind. Even if I finished everything I've done, I feel I'm behind.
That sounds stressful.
And it is very stressful. And then, caveat with being a father and stuff like that, it's very I have a lot of, ambition as a father and as someone who makes music. So I know I want to slow down, but I just feel these times it's just too great of a time. That we've created this environment where all these DJs are making great music and producers are great music, but I'm also involved in the pop world.
Right.
And not in a cheesy way. There's so many cool, last time we had a party in my neighborhood with Halsey, it's artists like Camila Cabello were there, Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus. There's people who are trying to do cool music too, and they're not forced by their labels to do you know?
Yeah.
The same gimmicks. Like everybody who's a great musician who's there because of their talent and their skill set are excited to make cool music too. And I'm part of that world. So it's like I have the motivation there too.
I feel like it's competition too. Like
I
feel like you're a competitive dude.
I'm so competitive with music, and I have like a lot of alliances with people who make great music, but I'm always trying to like outdo everybody, you know, and it's hard because motherfuckers are good.
Yeah, and they're getting better.
Really fast. And I got so much shit going on. It's like, it was a lot easier, I feel like 4 years ago, but now it's like, you know, there's just so much material coming out and so many great musicians and world-class artists. It's like, it's very inspiring to me. Like last time we had Aryeh over here, who's like another young kid I'm glad he can be around. Boombox Cartel was around my house this last weekend.
Yeah, shout out those guys.
Everybody who I bring over here is like, I'm just sitting down with them, just like watching them produce and like working with them. Like, damn, I feel, when Boombox Cartel comes around here, I'm just like, feel like really, I'm bad at music.
Yeah, they do.
You know,
that.
I'm bad at, when Skrillex is around me, I feel like I'm bad at music and I feel like I've got to be better. You know, and then when London on the Track comes over here and he sits down at the piano and plays like a fucking symphony, I'm like, okay, I give up.
Yeah.
So every time I have someone come over here and work with me, I just feel like I'm inspired, you know, and I feel competitive with them.
Is that how you feel when you play chess with me?
I feel like fucked up because let me just show you this right now. Just so you know, Willy Joy was my homie for a long time, but I'm losing to him pretty bad all the time. And I'm pretty good. My ELO score, I play chess online, guys, because it's better. It's like it's better than doing drugs. But I played a lot of games though.
Yeah. No, I saw your stats.
167 games. No, I played over 300 games. I've lost 127.
Yes.
But I've won 160. But I've lost 12 to you, I think.
It's something like that.
It's bad. And it's like, I barely ever win, but I play a lot of games at once. My score with you is, I've lost 12. No, I've lost 10. I've won 4.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as I thought it was.
No, it's not.
And I'm getting better at with you, but you, very good. I play too fast. We have a chessboard upstairs, a real live one, which we should play because fuck this.
Yeah.
I know you can. I know in this thing you can pick your moves and try different things out. I know you do that.
Yeah, I know you do that too.
I do a little bit now, but I don't do as deep as you. I go like 4 turns max in the future. I can't do like 8.
No, but it was crazy though, because when we started playing, like I think I kicked your ass a bunch of times in a row really fast, and then there was like a pause, like we didn't play for like a week, and then I felt like you studied some moves or something. Like you came back and you kicked my ass like 3-4 times in a row.
I just started so basically with chess, I just got a game so it was fun to do, and like when you're at an airport or whatever, I don't want to waste time playing a video game, so I play chess, and then I was like, look at my ELO score, which is like your score, like that's like your international chess rating or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was getting really bad. I was like a 900 or whatever. And I was like, this is embarrassing. So I started having to actually play good. I didn't really take it seriously. And now I'm pretty serious about it. But this one girl always beats my ass too. And Sarah, I introduced you to some other people on there, I think.
Yeah. I'm playing with Dirty South Joe now.
Is he good or not?
We're still in like the first game. I'm about to win the first game.
I think he's not. He was good in the beginning, but I think he's got a little.
He was competitive, but yeah, I think I'm gonna win. But you're about to leave tonight for Australia.
That's right. Yeah.
Going overseas, and you're going to like a bunch of crazy places pretty soon, right?
April is really crazy because I'm going to Africa for my first like solo shows, which I want to do before.
First solo shows ever?
I've done some shows in Africa before, like this continental Africa, not like South Africa. So I'm like going to like Kenya, Addis Ababa, Lagos, Uganda, Zimbabwe, just places that I've had like radio play on my music. So I want to go there and just see like what the vibe is.
Yeah.
And I have some shows in China in April, and then I have to go to Russia for some production job I had to do.
Oh shit!
So like April's actually the craziest month of going to be a crazy one.
Damn. Well, what
for me? I love the tour still. You know, don't get me wrong. I just feel like it's my time is more valuable if I stay here and work on music.
Yeah.
So it's become like that to me.
Do you still have that drive? Like I feel like there was a minute where you were just trying to go places that no one else was going. Well, not even that, but like maybe places you didn't even have a reason to go to.
100%. 100%. I don't like to have any off days on tour.
Yeah.
So because I have kids at home, if I go on tour, I don't feel comfortable like sitting in like a place. Like if I have 3 days off in Asia, I don't want to sit in Singapore for 2 days at a hotel.
Just
I want to
thinking about it. Yeah.
I'd rather go to Cambodia or wherever to take a show that won't pay any money.
Yeah.
To do something, or last year we did Pakistan and Cuba in the same week. We didn't expect anybody to come to the Cuba show. It was a big show, but Pakistan was just like, because it's something important to do and to have like try to do an event there to see if, I could bring some people together. And it was awesome.
Yeah.
One of my favorite shows ever was the Islamabad show.
I remember you posted something really heartfelt about that.
Yeah, it was really dope.
Yeah. And I remember back in the day, I was lucky enough to go play a show in Haiti kind of early on. I remember I was texting with you and just being like, this is insane. And I just remember, like, I felt like you were a little mad that I got there before.
I haven't been to Haiti yet.
You still haven't?
No.
Oh, you got to do it, man.
I think Walshy's been to Haiti a few times, though, doing, like, Major Lazer stuff there.
That would make sense. They're down for it. Yeah, Major Lazer show there would be crazy.
Yeah, we have to put some more work in. We have to put some more street singles out for the islands this year.
Yeah.
We had a couple. It's weird because we're doing pop music on one side, but we still do like stuff like Machel Montano or like Sean Paul or like Alkaline records on the side that no one ever hears that we do.
Yeah.
Like we have a big Conscience record we did, but it's like, I don't want to, because Major Lazer's profile is so big, if we put out a song like that, everybody will think it's like our single, and it's kind of hard to like get them to take attention away from the stuff that we're doing. It's more like our pop-oriented record. So it's just timing. But once the spring comes around, we're going to put out a lot of music, so here and there.
Major Lazer music, Diplo music?
Everything. Diplo music. I have an EP coming out the next month for 4 tracks, hip-hop records I did with like a lot of cool artists.
Can you say who?
Lil Yachty, Santi Gold, Drum, Post Malone, and Designer. That
sounds dope. Oh, yeah, Kurt played me, I think, some of those Designer. Yeah.
I gave Kurt one of the records we did for Designer because, it's his record, but I tracked the vocal, but I've been working a lot with Designer with the same publisher, and he's always around the city. So
Kurt was telling me like the way he records is just crazy.
Oh, yeah, Kurt was here. Actually, Kurt was there when I did the record for my EP, and we were both in the studio. I never worked with him. It was the first time I met him, and he literally was doing. I'm not gonna lie, he did the ad libs and the verse in the same take.
Yeah, like so ventriloquism.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody do that before.
Yeah,
it was very.
He does the most, man. Those ad libs are crazy.
It was like he can't had an out of body experience, and his ad libs were above him as a ghost speaking.
How you feel, man? Anything else you want to get out there?
Just that I'm really hungry. I'm about to play chess, which I haven't seen. You haven't done a move in a while, so.
Well, yeah, I was fucking waiting for your ass to come talk to me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure. We go back a long way, and you were one of the first people to really support my music and like
100%
get it out there, and I appreciate that.
You're also one of the first people to make crazy music.
No, thanks.
When it was all of the and you're so prolific, bro. You don't stop. But when it's all like when music was getting harder and heavier, you had become like sending me the hardest, craziest stuff. At the time, I was like, I gotta hook up with Willy Joy. He's out of his mind.
I gotta send you some new shit too.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, Wes. All right, guys, that's our show. Thanks to Diplo for being the first ever guest on Back to Back. Man, that feels crazy to say. Such a good conversation, such an interesting guy. I really do love that guy. And I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Thank you guys. You are the first ever listeners of this show. And that means the world to me. I can't even really tell you how much it means. If you really want to make my day, my birthday is coming up. I'm just saying, please subscribe to the show. That way, every time I post a new episode, it'll just pop up on your phone. You don't have to do anything. It's super easy. And please rate and review this show on iTunes. That is the best way to help the show grow, to support me, to make lots more of these for you guys to listen to. And my promise to you is that I'm going to make it the best show it can possibly be. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you think. And just know on my end, I'm dedicating a lot of time and a lot of thought to really just figuring out how this can be the best possible show. I want this to be something we can all share and enjoy and participate in and just, make something we all like. That's all I'm trying to do. So that's it. Show number 1 in the can. It feels crazy to say this, but I'll see you guys next week. And I'm really looking forward to what we're going to build here. Thank you, guys. My name is Willy Joy. You can follow me at all social media at Willy Joy. Have a good week. Bye.